And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have a returning good brother to the temple, coming to us from the wonderful world of Shades of Vengeance, the man of many different forms of era, including one that celebrated its 10th anniversary, and now coming back with Era Friction, the action hero entry of the Era universe, the one and only Ed Jowett. How you doing today, man?
Good, thank you for having me back on. It's great to be back in the temple. It's been a little while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We spoke regarding Balam last, unless I'm much mistaken.
No, that is correct. Last time was Balam.
Yeah, Balam's done out in the world, as indeed are Kaiju, Dead West, and the others that we've done. So it felt like it's time to come along and deal with Era Friction.
Yep.
I would love to talk about the 10th anniversary of Consortium as well, if we have the time, because that's ongoing right now. So it's been a bit crazy, I'm sure you can imagine, like arranging the 10th anniversary and also dealing with Era Friction. It's been quite a lot of work.
Yeah, the image of somebody spinning plates to the tune of Saber Dance comes to mind. But Era Friction, as I understand it, is using a pocket version, a much lighter variant of the Era system. So
actually, sorry, I just want to clarify that. Pocket editions of the Era D10 system already exist. So Era Hitman, Era Dead West, Era Kaiju, they all use pocket rulebooks, which broadly normally means that it is just a smaller book, easier to transport, maybe less setting material because you can probably come up with it yourself based on what you know. You know, it gives you a flavor and then lets you run with it. However, Era Friction, as you sort of alluded to, really goes a lot further. I'm messing with the rule set. For the first time in about 10 years, I'm making significant changes to the core of how the rule set works. Yeah. And a few of these things were started in Era Kaiju when I sort of threw away the skills aspect of the rule set, but Era Kaiju was always intended to be more akin to the normal Era D10 rule set than Era Friction. So there are some rules that I think are good and work in general for most games, but I've been actually working on Era D10 Lite since before COVID. My expectation at the time was that I would make an Era the Empowered game, a superhero game, using Era D10 Lite. And it's one of the occasions where I tried to work with a sort of a line producer for that particular book, someone from the industry who volunteered. And unfortunately, just like every other time I've tried to do that, it unfortunately did not work out very well. This person had some stuff come up. I don't know how serious it really was, and he pulled out of the project. Unfortunately, that seems to happen to me very commonly when I work with others as like a senior position within the game. I often find that they don't really want to spend the amount of time that it's going to take to get a game right.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy to give them a lot of creative freedom and so on. It's nothing like that. But I do struggle to get people to really show the dedication that it takes to get a role-playing game right, unless they already know about role-playing games and are publishing them, in which case they're doing their own thing and they're not really going to want to work with me. A lot of people assume that it is very easy to make a tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah.
And it's as you very well know, my friend, it is not easy.
Yeah, we don't do this because it's easy. We do it because we thought it was easy.
No, we do it because we loved. Well, by the time you get to where I'm at, with 15 games now released, you do it because you like doing it, not because it's easy.
Yeah, I just said
maybe the first time I agree with you. Maybe I did think it was easy back then.
Well,
10 years ago when I was young and stupid.
Yeah, but Now, Era Friction is very much building itself on the action hero archetypes, and
Yeah,
that action heroes is a very wide net to cast.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely, I agree.
are there any? And I know it said that you're leaning more towards 80s, 90s action heroes. So, what would be some of the movies or shows that would be in the Appendix N for Era Friction?
I love that question. So here are a few of them that really come to mind. Commando is absolutely top of my list. I think that might be the apex of the action genre, that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But other Arnie movies such as Raw Deal or Eraser or I mean, you could do the more sci-fi ones. I didn't really want to target it at that, but things like Running Man or Sixth Day, they're absolutely doable within this game. I wanted to really focus on the modern feel of action movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I talk about the 80s and 90s. There's certainly a lot of 80s and 90s stuff in there. Other ones that come to mind, The Specialist, the Stallone movie, many Steven Seagal movies. There was recently, not recently, more recently than the 80s or 90s, recently to me, there was a movie called oh, I can't remember what it was called, but it had Stallone and Arnie in, and they were trying to escape from a prison. That would be a good example.
Mm-hmm. I know which one you're talking about, but the name currently escapes me.
And they made three more. They made two or three, like three of them in total, I think. Stallone's like an architect who designs prisons and makes them unbreakoutable, and then breaks out of this particular prison.
Yeah.
But things like The Transporter are specifically covered. Things like Jackie Chan movies are covered with an archetype that you can play as sort of a very Jackie Chan thing. You can do the James Bond thing, Mission Impossible, maybe the Tom Cruise ones more than the 70s TV show, although the 70s TV show is absolutely a thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said the Tom Cruise one. I have seen all of the Mission Impossible movies, but I focus on the first one as what I think the Mission Impossible movies should be like. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I think the Mission Impossible movies are like that, or should be like that, and they are not always, but that's where I'm at. Let me think. What else?
Would you throw in Expendables into that list?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's more of such an enormous cast in the Expendables that it's sort of like it's got a different bit of a flavor. You know, you aren't talking about 4 characters, you're talking about 10, or depending on which movie, 20 or 30 characters. Van Damme movies like Desert Heat is the one that I watched recently that I thought of. Hard Target is one of my favorite movies of all time, action movies of all time, I should say. Things like that, absolutely doable. I mentioned The Transporter already. I watched a preview of a movie that is still coming that I can't talk too much about, but it had John Cena and Idris Elba in. And I was allowed to watch I was selected to watch the preview here in the UK, like a test screening.
Yeah.
And I went and watched that, and that would be completely playable in this. I literally can't say any more than that. That's that amount you could find out on IMDb, but I literally can't say any more because of NDAs. So there are a lot of different things. I watched one recently where Sam Jackson was the president, and he got dropped in like Norway. And Ray Stevenson was trying to kill him. I can't remember what the name of that was. It Big Game or something? I think something like that. There was that movie. You could definitely do that. Air Force One is another great example of something you can do. Die Hard is something we did do. That was one of the playtests. Was a slightly distorted version of Die Hard.
What about Hard Boiled?
So that's I've not seen that one. I don't know that one.
Hard Boiled is, aside from being a massive influence on cinematography for decades, that was one of the big inspirations for the Max Payne games.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes, I've not seen the movie. I would be very surprised. The Max Payne games you could 100% do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely. The thing is that what you have to do when running an era friction session, have to is maybe a bit strong. What I recommend you do when running era friction is not take it too seriously. Because the addition of the main mechanic that is unique to this game, which is continuity errors, makes it kind of ridiculous. So, from the classic action movie thing of where, you're firing your gun, you don't run out of ammo no matter how long you're firing your gun for.
Mm-hmm. Or suppressors somehow having that
shots and then they reload, that sort of thing. That would be a continuity error and therefore a friction point.
Or
things like sorry.
What instantly comes to mind is the zip noise that suppressed guns end up doing in film that does not match how suppressors work.
Indeed, but in this game, suppressors work like it does in films.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than it being like you aren't aware of in character, you aren't aware of it being a film or anything. But the rules of the world are defined by the way that action movies work.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those suspensions of disbelief that, of course we all know that it's BS that silencers, suppressors work that way, right? We know it's not true. However, we're willing to suspend disbelief when we go into an action movie. It's just like an unspoken rule.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie that just came to mind. I recently watched the Equalizer movies. I'd never actually seen them. I missed them as they happened. They would be completely playable in this game. They would be a good example.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. Now, within the character creation part of it, you obviously there's the background, there's the quirk like there is in plenty of the other entries, but we also have the style, which is tied to the whole friction points. We'll get into that in a minute, but I'd like to play a bit of a Rorschach test of a sort. So
okay.
I'll go. Go ahead. I'll go through some of these styles, and I'd like to get a character that comes to mind that would be a good representative, a good mascot of that style.
I should be able to do that for each one of the styles. I hope.
Yeah. With Big Gun, I'm skipping that one because it's pretty obvious that would be Arnie or Stallone in most of the movies they're in.
Absolutely. Or indeed The Rock in the Doom movie. That would count.
Which, honestly, that is probably my favorite movie that The Rock has been in. Make of that what you will. I don't know if that's praising with faint damns or not.
I mean, I think that movie is underrated because Carl Urban takes the most ridiculous concept imaginable and somehow manages to act that movie completely straight and serious.
It's a small one.
I have serious respect for that.
I look at that as the precursor for him doing Dredd.
Dredd, absolutely. I agree.
The next one I was going to do with this is Break Bones.
So Break Bones was actually inspired by Jean-Claude Van Damme in Cyborg, where he goes around breaking people's arms and stuff rather than killing them. And I don't really know why. Like, it doesn't make any sense for the story. Because they're all, like, serious bad guys who were involved in the gang that killed his other half and so on in that movie. So he goes around just breaking people's arms and legs, but not actually killing them for the most part.
Yeah.
I never understood why, especially in a post-apocalypse where you know that they're gonna die anyway.
Now with environment,
but yeah, that was the spirit animal.
Yeah, with environment, I'm guessing the spirit animal for that is Jackie Chan.
Absolutely so. He is a master of exactly that sort of thing. And if that's your go-to place for an action hero, I wanted to make sure that you can have the benefit from going, right, well, tell me what's in the environment. Me as a GM, I generally go, well, tell me what you want to be in the environment. Well, there's building work going on here, so I want concrete blocks, a step ladder, a long pole to poke things and see if they fall down, and blah blah blah. And then someone figures out how they're going to go around the room and use the environment, right?
Yeah, and with gadgets, I'm guessing the spirit animal with that is the various incarnations of James Bond. Oh.
It is, yes. Very much the direct references there are James Bond references.
Yeah. Since we're dealing with 80s, 90s, would it be fair to say that this is leaning more towards like the Pierce Brosnan era?
Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, yeah. The miniaturized flamethrower is actually a reference to License to Kill.
All right. When it comes to, I'm gonna save the goddamn
the
day.
yeah.
That's one that could have a bunch of potential entries.
That is a direct quote from one individual in one movie. You know the quote?
I'm probably gonna kick myself afterwards.
It's Nicolas Cage in Con Air.
Which definitely fits Nick Cage.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's you know it's definitely supposed to be that kind of character. You know, it's like, well, I'm not going to do anything until everything is hopeless, and then I'll do something, but not until then.
Yeah. But when it comes to things like just faster, for whatever reason, I know it'd be tempting to think of like Fast and Furious or Drive, but for whatever reason, I keep thinking of the Initial D manga, if only because I have a soft spot for toge racing. If I wanted to use a real world example, I could use anybody who did at least one race in Rally Group B back in the 80s, which
it's actually not that. That's more the vehicular down at the end. Just Faster is more about your reaction time. It's the Jet Lis of the world.
All right.
Right? It's the, you know, like, Unleashed is a really good example, where just that character is a scrappy, you know, but then they stick him in an arena with someone, and it's just like he's not even trying. Right? It's just bam, bam, bam. Guy goes down, the end. You know, he's just so much faster, it's... Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I can get that. And I'm kind of understating how absolutely insane Rally Group B was. Because
I don't know too much about it.
The short version is the FIA, who's the governing body for that in Formula One, wanted more manufacturers to get into rally, which was kind of flagging at the time. Right. So they lowered the restrictions for Group B. Basically, you only had, for a certain model to be submitted, it only had to sell, I think, 100 cars a year, 100 or 200. And as long as it's got four wheels and an engine, everything was on the table. So you'd have these supercharged and turbocharged engines in these aluminum frames and have the engine in the middle of the car for weight distribution. So it was absolutely nuts.
I can imagine.
You know, you've essentially got a supercar engine in the bare minimum frame. It's like that one Atom car that showed up on Top Gear years ago. It's using the engine of a sports car, but everything else is stripped out, so it's half as heavy. Just wear a helmet, otherwise you're gonna lose your face because there's no windshield.
Yeah.
But with more complex equals better. I'm guessing that is where you're leaning into, like Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible.
Absolutely, because just the level of ridiculousness of the plans is what I wanted to lean into there. That's my character of choice, where I will just come up with a ridiculous plan that then needs to work, and like every single piece of it needs to work for it to work, but it's insane and ridiculous.
Could you also throw Danny Ocean in that?
Yeah. I mean, yes. But basically, anyone who comes up with a plan that is ridiculously overcomplicated, but it's better just because it's ridiculously overcomplicated.
Mhm.
And this is it's so often a screenwriting tactic, right? Because it makes people have to think, because the things you see are not like the answer. It's supposed to mislead you as to what's going on. You're supposed to think they failed,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that sort of thing, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing with survivalism and stealth, that would lean more towards Rambo, specifically in First Blood.
Yeah, Rambo is definitely what I was thinking about, and First Blood in particular. Also, to some degree, Arnie at the end of Predator.
Mm-hmm. I could certainly see it. And as you mentioned, vehicular is very much the wheelman kind of archetype.
Yeah. Well, we had one person play vehicular, and the group decided to pool their friction points so that they could have a car appear on top of a skyscraper. High Cost Tower, it was called. It was Nakatomi Plaza, basically, but it was called High Cost Tower, and they made the car appear on top of it so that the vehicular guy could jump in the car, drive it off the roof, so that it would hit the helicopter of ninjas that was coming to attack them.
Which I'm no stranger to that sort of ridiculousness. I mean, I did a Lucha Libre character whose big thing was being able to grapple anything and everything. No matter how big or small it is, he could out wrestle it.
Yep.
Oh.
Again, that would be a kind of thing that would really fit very nicely in this game.
I mean,
so I am now going to go and wrestle the helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen less ridiculous things.
I'm just going to wrestle the helicopter.
Yeah, I've seen less ridiculous things in the numerous El Santo movies over the years.
So yeah, I mean, the idea behind all of these styles is that you can, you can choose one of these, or you can pick your own, and I love that, like, as an additional one. Yeah, just I wrestle things. That's what I do. I wrestle stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to let anyone get away or anything. So he is the kind of person who would stand in front of a lorry and try and wrestle it while it was barreling towards him in a car chase.
Yeah,
he'd try and wrestle it.
Oh,
he wouldn't die. So he wouldn't die. He'd end up plastered on the front, trying to pull the engine off.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wouldn't be dead. He'd be like on the front. You know how you see in some action movies, and you just get the guy just standing on the front. You get it in like Terminator or whatever, where it doesn't matter. You just can't get rid of the guy.
Yeah. Although speaking
that's what this guy would be like. He'd just be invulnerable, and just be like, rah!
Yeah.
Sort of grab the lorry, but it wouldn't stop. So he'd be like on the front, and he'd be like trying to rip the headlights and the engine off, you know.
And I will note one amusing thing since you brought up Nakatomi Plaza. A few years ago, a bunch of journalists for a bunch of news sites started live tweeting on Christmas Eve as if they were at Nakatomi Plaza during the events of Die Hard. I don't know who started this. I just remember seeing it on my feed that a bunch of them were live tweeting like they were there.
That is weird.
It is weird and also brilliant. Because hey, it's Christmas.
Weird.
It was Christmas Eve at like 10 o'clock at night, so they got nothing better to do. I guess they were like, let's tweet like we're at Nakatomi Plaza during Die Hard. And hey, maybe they're doing it in celebration for it finally being accepted as a Christmas movie.
Has it been finally accepted as a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it got in.
So it was scientifically proven by a YouTube channel that it is a Christmas movie in comparison to like A Wonderful Life, It's a Wonderful Life, or whatever. You know, it was like number of Christmas trees, number of people who mention Christmas, and so on. Like all of the things that make something a Christmas movie, and it was like scientifically proven that it is more of a Christmas movie than It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be petty enough to do that. But
it's been done on a YouTube channel, and it was good watching.
Now I want to see if I can bully the Christmas canon to accepting Hogfather Night.
Maybe.
But
Wait, does that mean Die Hard 2 is also a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Good.
And I
Excellent.
will hear no argument otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it takes place at Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
and there are loads of people who say Merry Christmas, including right at the end of the movie. So it's a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. But
we my family, we watch them alternately. We watch Die Hard one year and Die Harder the next year, Die Hard the following year, and Die Harder the following year after that. So absolutely a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the style plays into the concept of friction points. Basically, the points of awesome that you, in terms of how it works. I could make analogies to stunts, but the point is more or less made. And when it comes to their use, during playtesting, is it a case where people are regularly gaining and spending friction points?
Yeah, I go into this in the GM section. A constant economy of friction points being given and spent is far better for the fun of the game. So characters following these action hero behaviors, like Commando reference, ripping a seat out of a car so that you can sit in it and stay concealed, or using a heavy construction vehicle for a car chase, like in Beverly Hills Cop, or hanging onto the bottom of a vehicle to conceal yourself, or whatever. All of these sorts of things. Bourne, I did a Bourne one, sliding down the stairs on a tray while shooting enemies. Whatever it is, doing those things earn you friction points, and anything that is sort of in keeping with your style. Walking away as something explodes behind you, make sure you don't look back. Because if you look back, you don't get a friction point. You have to not look back. Jumping off buildings to land on a car, water, or other probably deadly surface. Those sorts of things. That's actually a reference to Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
Where in the commentary they absolutely destroy that particular scene. It's really funny because they're there doing the commentary and they're like, yeah, I think this looks like garbage. I hate the fact that we did this. We never should have done this. But obviously it's happened in a lot of different movies where like someone will fall onto a car and be fine.
Yeah. For whatever reason, when you say that, I immediately think of the first Hellboy, where the solution to taking out that monster was stuff its mouth with all of the grenades, and
yes, indeed,
and all that Hellboy is thinking about is how he's going to be sore the next morning, because it works for that kind of thing. It's that kind of ridiculous thing that shouldn't work, but also a reminder that he's fireproof.
Yeah.
So of course the fire of an explosion isn't going to do anything.
The only thing that's going to hurt him. Yeah, the concussion's the only thing that's going to hurt. Yeah, absolutely.
And I will, if somebody's going to have the motif of I'm borderline invincible, I've always suggested that they should take the Wolverine approach of they may be able to take it, but they're not going to like it.
Yeah. I mean, in this, you've got the undying trait, which is one of the ones I don't think we mentioned when we were going through. The idea behind that one is really you don't die, but you will look as bad as Bruce Willis does at the end of Die Hard by the end of the session. Every session. And you might magically recover in between, but you're gonna have to, have holes in you and have walked on glass and, barely be walking by the end of the session. Serious medical bills territory.
Yeah, the embodiment of I still got one hit point.
Yes, absolutely.
And with that in mind, since you said that the Era D10 Lite is dialing back on the skills part.
That's correct. Yeah.
So is it just an attribute game?
there are 6 attributes in the game. And anything you do will be a combination of any 2 of those, including double. So there's might, which includes intellectual might as well as physical might. Reaction, which is reaction time, your ability to move out the way, and so on. Defense, that's quite obvious, you know, diving out the way of things or tanking a hit, holding up a piece of armor to be in the way of you, that sort of thing. I was thinking sort of a plate of tank armor, you know, holding that in the way would be defense. Luck, which is obvious and is actually a core thing that I really like about Era D10. Health, which helps to define your health as well as your resistance to dying, I guess. And charisma, which is obviously very important to have an electric personality in certain kinds. I've mentioned Beverly Hills Cop already. That is also one of the movies where I would expect you to be able to play that kind of character in this game.
Yeah, I could certainly see it. And if I'm being honest, when it comes to setting up a action scene, I know I mentioned Hardboiled before, but there's one particular scene in particular that I'd always suggest to people, and that is the tea house shootout, which ended up playing a factor into another video game, that being Fear.
Right.
Like
I've not played it, but I'm aware.
Monolith outright said that they wanted their gunfights to be something like the tea house shootout from Hardboiled, and in that particular thing, yeah, the only guns that are being used are like pistols, but it is not a case of just a few burn holes here and there. The whole place is getting trashed. Like kettles and cups getting destroyed, furniture getting shredded. Just the whole place looks like a tornado went through it by the end. You know, because now with that in mind, do you see this as something that leans more towards Beer and Pretzels one-shots, or could it sustain a lengthier campaign?
Could definitely sustain a lengthier campaign. It's been done, in fact. So while it does have that very comedic edge, there are GMs that I know who like to have the comedic edge in whatever they play. So yeah, it definitely can. Like, that there is leveling up, there is plenty of space to build your character and build your character's backstory. You know, your daughter gets kidnapped every week. Commando reference, obviously. You know, your daughter gets kidnapped every week, and therefore, how does your personality change? Because no matter what you do, you cannot stop your daughter from getting kidnapped every week.
Which is a fair thing. I also, when I was going through some of the material, I did get a bit of a kick at some of the little nods you put in there, like the description for one-handed assault rifle, dealing health damage less accurately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I even titled, I broke the tradition of you know, 13 other games to title part 3 not weapons and equipment, but what you need. It's just the stuff you need. You need it. And there's a huge, you know, there's a huge range of stuff from having a rock to hitting people with a tree trunk, knives, bows, handguns, Desert Eagles, Uzis, shotguns, assault rifle, and as you point out, assault rifle one-handed, light machine gun, in truth, anything but light. And, you know, as we talk about this page, it's a really good example of how I have changed the rules for Era D10 Lite, because the explosion sizes, they're basically small, medium, large, or huge. You know, that's, you know, a medium might be a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher might do a large one, a tank gun does a large one, and a helicopter missile does a huge one. So you get, like, choices between that, but it's not telling you the number of meters away you are. There is a broad guideline for how large that is, but basically rather than trying to count the number of meters you are away and do that kind of tactical combat. That's not what this game is about.
Yeah.
I've removed the defense mechanic from this game. It is something that people sometimes forget when running the game. I encourage them to try and remember, because it's an important part of the balance. But if you are going to dodge out of the way, you are just going to get a roll to dodge out of the way in this game. Because half the time, as an action hero, you're not even going to bother. Right? They're going to miss anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, when I look at plenty of action movies, that idea of just tanking hits isn't. It can be a thing in some cases, but getting into that would be getting way into the weeds.
Yeah, and I wanted to keep it really straightforward to play. And you even look at the character sheet, and it's so simple. Like, you can look at that character sheet, you know that there are only 6 things that you can roll on. It's not, where is this thing? It maybe puts a little more stress on the GM, because how do you figure out what this ridiculous thing that people want to do, how do you figure out which stat it is? I've never had a problem yet, though.
Yeah.
I can figure something out for everything.
Yeah, and because of the fact that it's just attributes, the die rolls are going to be a bit lighter, I would guess.
So the die rolls can happen as frequently. So I've tried it sort of both ways. I've tried it with very few dice rolls and mostly giving people what they want. I think dice rolls, they're very quick as a result of it being so simple. It cuts about 10 seconds off the average response time when you go, right, can you roll defense and reaction, please? Because they don't have to find them. They're all really right in front of them. It's enormous and you can't miss it. It's very, very, very simple to find.
Yeah.
So that is actually a significant advantage.
Yeah. Now,
it makes the gameplay faster. It makes any dice roll take less time.
Yeah. When it comes to the gaining experience section, I'm curious how you came to that particular way of distributing attribute points upon different levels. Go.
Okay, well, as you know in Era D10, but possibly any new listeners don't, in Era D10, this is another aspect that I liked and wanted to keep. It costs 2 points to get to 5 or 6 dice in any attribute, 5 or 6 attribute levels, and 3 points to get to 7 or 8. And Era D10 has always been about allowing you to min-max, but really punishing you quite hard for choosing to do so. So that is really the reason that it is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And I only give 10 levels of points. You will have to save if you have. So you start with 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2 across your 6 attributes. You are going to have to save for a while if you want to get your best attribute up to 8. In fact, you're going to have to go. I worked at this house at the time. You're going to need 2 plus 3 plus another 3. So basically, you're going to have to be level 7 before you can have an attribute at 8. And that'll be half of your points at level 7.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long time, and you are going to have to completely focus on that attribute in order to get it up, which means you are not good at other things. Alternatively, you can build up your attributes to 4 in everything, but you are never going to achieve 8 in a single attribute point. You can't in a single attribute. You can't do both.
Yeah, I can get that. And
so it's a choice. It's choices. And I'm all about choices. I'm all about how much you focus, how much do you generalize. What are you going to choose to do?
Yeah, and I do have to correct myself because I somehow ended up skimming over the fact that with the setup in this one, it's about rolling pairs of attributes instead of attribute and skill.
You might roll the same attribute twice. So yes, you're absolutely right. It is a pair of attributes. So of those, might, reaction, defense, luck, health, and charisma, you'll roll any 2 of them. So I actually give some examples in the GM section just to help. Charisma and health might be used to convince your teammates that it's just a flesh wound. Defense and charisma might be used to resist the seductive distraction the evil mastermind sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Defense and luck might be to dive for cover when weapons fire is coming from an unknown location.
Mm-hmm.
Might and defense might be used. I was referencing. Somewhat referencing a fistful of dollars, but also what was actually in my head was really more Tremors 2, when I talked about carrying a steel plate between you and the bad guys,
Mm-hmm.
Protecting you from the bullets. Obviously, in Tremors, it's so that they can't see them, but yeah.
And when I think of Tremors, I keep thinking of the fact that reinforces the age-old rule of accuracy by volume when it came to the first movie.
Yeah. Yes, accuracy by volume, indeed.
Well,
again, that would be a really good style for your character to have.
Yeah, because if one bullet isn't doing it, it's not a problem with the bullet. It's the fact that you're not shooting it enough.
It's not enough bullets is the problem.
Mm-hmm. Somebody who's doing accuracy by volume they'd be the kind of person who wouldn't bring a LMG to a fight. They'd bring a minigun.
Yeah, and I specifically didn't allow for a minigun to be brought to the fight in attributes. In the stats, I should say, for the weapons. But I'm pretty sure that a GM would be able to work that out if they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do a minigun, did I? No, I'm just.
You didn't. No, you did a light machine gun, which technically speaking, a light machine gun is light. If you use the same broad definition on how some armies treat small arms,
it's light for a gun, whereas an assault rifle is a rifle, right? So a gun is something you mount on the side of a ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works in English. Yeah. A gun is actually like artillery, and a rifle is a small arm.
Yeah. Some armies have a very broad definition on what counts as small arms. So you have a small arms repairman repairing like the chain gun on a Bradley.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's a very, very broad definition of small arms. Yeah.
It is. It's like, in order to get that broad, you'd have to have Mr. Fantastic drawn and quartered. How's that for an image? But
or the Terminator. Terminator could carry it.
Yeah. Oh. Just it'd be as easy as people carrying the Terminator exoskeleton with the first movie.
Yeah.
I think I told you about that. How because of a miscommunication, it was made out of the wrong kind of material. It's supposed to be made out of fiberglass and chrome. It ended up being made out of cast iron. They were guerrilla filming.
Ouch.
Guerrilla filming at night with no permits, with a prop that takes 3 people to move. But
yeah,
it's one of those things that just ends up happening.
I remember watching an interview where Arnie said where he broke the window, he was genuinely worried he was going to get arrested. The car door window near the beginning, he breaks a window and steals the car, and he was genuinely concerned he was going to get arrested when he was breaking the window.
Yeah, there's been
guerrilla filming, like you said, right?
I think he should just be more careful with his hand, because obviously Terminator 2, he has that whole thing of, I don't need a prop gun for this stunt, and then nearly breaks his damn hand in the process.
He nearly blew his fingers off in Terminator 3 as well while he was carrying the coffin, because he put his fingers over where the bullet holes were supposed to go.
Like, once is an anomaly, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. I don't know. Maybe it's just a case of overestimating himself when you have a whole bodybuilding competition named after you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But now, I do want to shift a bit, because you did bring up the 10th anniversary of Era of the Consortium.
Yeah.
And I know that for the longest time with that universe, you've been doing a, I guess for lack of a better term, a living history, a history of the future, to reference Asimov.
Yeah.
Has is that part of the celebration when it comes to that 10th anniversary, and what else have you been doing with that?
Absolutely. In fact, we've been doing a lot of different things with the 10th anniversary. But one of the, I guess you could say, the crowning glory at the end of the month of stuff that we're doing, is the 24-hour game that we're doing.
Ooh.
We're running a 24-hour game. Several GMs have volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is basically that we are going to do something really, really significant that I can't talk about yet because it would give the plot away. But we're going to do something really significant in the universe that has the potential to completely change what the consortium looks like.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking of an event comic kind of thing.
It is very much that kind of feel, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be 6 sessions of 4 hours each over the 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We are rotating the GMs a little bit because we're a bit worried that GMs at 20, at hour 20, they're going to start running a garbage session. They're going to be a little on the tired side.
Mm-hmm.
But there are players who are going to play through all of the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a harking back to where Era of the Consortium started almost 20 years ago now, long before it was Era of the Consortium, which was at my university indoor games club, where we ran a 24-hour game that built the first strands of the universe that would become Era of the Consortium. I was one of the 2 primary people who worked on that game, and there was one other as well who worked with me very closely. So we're doing the 10th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We're also doing a whole bunch of other things where some people like creating characters, so we've made a character creation competition.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like creating adventure seeds, so we've made an adventure seeds creating competition.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a channel for sharing your memories of the games of Era of the Consortium that you've played that touched you and made you like the universe or just things you remember. We're trying to give everyone the opportunity to participate, and importantly, if you participate, we're actually giving you the Era of the Consortium rulebook primer, which has existed for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a player's guide minus a couple of options, because I wanted, at the time when I wrote it, I wanted it to get to 40 pages. So we're giving you this book in digital format if you participate in literally anything, as little as going to the quizzes that we've got some sort of fun quiz questions where if you answer 5 correctly, you will get an expansion which I choose. You will get it, and every expansion is compatible with the rulebook primer, so you'll be able to play with the primer and the expansion. And if you get 10 right, all 10 out of 10, then you get to have an expansion of your choice. We're giving expansions away for the challenges. So if you create the best character, and I'll be judging that on the 6th of, well, by the 6th of November, 4th or 5th or 6th of November after the 24-hour game. If you do the best adventure seed, actually there are 2 prizes for each of those. You will get rewards of a very similar nature. But participating gets you the rulebook, and then you can get expansions as prizes. And we've got 18 expansions to choose from. So there are loads and loads of expansions that we can give out to you, or that you can choose from if that's what you would like.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this 24-hour game, we are, we're going to shake the foundations of the consortium. Something that's been just an established thing for over 400 years in the consortium is going to be challenged within these sessions, and it depends how well the players play at this point. We're playing resistance side, So that gives you an idea. But I'm not able to give any more clues than that for now.
Yeah,
Come along.
I
It starts at 4 p.m. GMT,
Mhm.
which is 5 hours ahead of Eastern time in the US. We're done with daylight savings by then, I believe. So, yeah, it starts at 4 p.m. GMT and runs from. There's a session at 4 p.m., 8 a.m., 8 p.m., midnight, 4 a.m., 8 a.m., midday, and then we finish at that session at 4 p.m. We're hoping to arrange some streaming for it. I'm not entirely sure whether that's going to happen or not. There are some question marks over the ability to do it, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah. And I'll certainly be looking forward to seeing how it develops, as well as how well Era Friction develops. Since
Era Friction is doing very nicely on Kickstarter. We've broken our first stretch goal, and then unfortunately someone backed out, so we've dropped down below that first stretch goal. But I'm confident it'll go back up in the 7 days that we have remaining. So yeah, if you're out there listening to this, you might want to hurry up and have a look, because there isn't long left before it ends. Just one more week. We've got 55 backers, which means we've broken the first backer stretch goal, which means everyone is going to get Era Bloodlines, which is an urban fantasy prototype game that I created as an issue of the Era Zone. And basically you can play as a hunter of creatures. You can have creatures on your side as well, but it's inspired by things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Grimm and Supernatural.
Yeah, I could most certainly see that. But with that said, I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way to my temple and enjoy the madness that happens here.
It's an honor as always, Mildra. I love coming here. I love talking to you. I love going over the games that I'm creating, the way that you look at them, and I can't wait to be back. I've got. I will, if you like, I will quickly tease some things I have coming up.
All right.
If you want to spend 30 seconds on that.
Yeah, I can do that.
I am currently working on with Leo Kosh, my longtime friend and audio co-creator. I am working on a biopunk game. Biopunk is his sort of thing, and I'm helping him out with it mechanically and just helping with the art direction and writing and such. The idea is that you play as a character called a Pillar, who controls genetically engineered bodies outside of the location where you are. So there are two aspects of the game. There's the Pillar, who has to do all the politics and negotiation, and then you've got the bodies, which are maybe a bit more disposable, but they might be big and strong, and they might be able to smuggle weapons, or they might be small and able to squeeze through spaces, or whatever. There's definitely, for me, there's sort of an element of Eclipse phase in there, but it's a lot more like a Cold War kind of scenario, because again, that's sort of Leo's thing. He wanted to have these two factions going on with the Cold War, where they're sort of using these infiltration bodies to get into the other side and ruin their civilization.
Yeah,
I'm working on. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I can see a bit of that, and also a bit of some of the biopunk art styles that I've seen over the years. This, and in a roundabout way, some of the non-alien stuff that Giger has done.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also working on, and this is a funny one. In May, I did a workshop at a convention, MCM Comic Con. It's the largest convention here in the UK. Largest comic convention, I should say, here in the UK. We did this workshop to build a tabletop role-playing game using the Era D10 rule set. And what we came up with was Dieselpunk Shark Ninjas who fight alien robots who have enslaved. The alien robots have enslaved humanity to drill for oil to power them, obviously. And the Shark Ninjas fight the robots and to free humanity because humanity tastes better when they're free range. I've just finished the book because I wanted to take it to the workshop that I'm doing actually next weekend, a week from now, a week from yesterday, that is actually. I'll be in that workshop, and I wanted to show that, you know, when we make a game in a workshop, I go to 11 out of 10. This game exists. I used a 90s cartoon kind of art style to bring this world to life, and the game fully exists with not everything that everyone came up with, because obviously there are some ideas that don't quite fit, but really the vast majority of it is what we came up with in that workshop. And I'm going to run another one, so goodness knows what's going to come out of that. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine yet. I'm working on a game where I'm going to redefine initiative in the Era D10 rule set. I can't talk too much more about that, but what I can say is this game is inspired by Doom. Mm-hmm. So you will play as Doom guys fighting demons on Mars, more or less.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's funny you're invoking Doom because I was playing through Legacy of Rust the other day.
Absolutely. And then finally, the other thing that I'm working on in role-playing game world is Era Soul Mist, which is my Dark Souls-like offering.
Mm-hmm.
I have always enjoyed the Dark Souls games, and I wanted to do something which felt like it, and I'm going to be completely re-engineering the combat skills and the combat taste in this game in order that it feels more like Dark Souls. And that's going to lead to a very, very different experience while playing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. I've done a couple of playtests. They've been very, very promising.
Yeah.
The most of the artwork is complete for that as well. I've got a bestiary of 40 creatures that you'll be able to fight against, along with a backup 25 that we did sketches of, and I can't really afford to do absolutely everything in the bestiary. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get to do an additional booklet, like I've done for other games, and sort of put those sketches in as the additional monsters that you're going to have to face.
Yeah, I can certainly get that, and I'll definitely look forward to those. But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there'll be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody!
上年関税を往年関税を